Hello everyone and welcome to a wonderful game from the from the second round of the European Individual Championship. It is Max Warmerdam versus Olga Badelka, and the game features a move that wasn't actually played in the game, but it's such a spectacular idea. Max tweeted about it on Twitter, saying that he spent 40 minutes in this position, but he still couldn't figure it out. But that's where you guys come in. You will have a chance to solve this beautiful position. So let's check it out. So Max, with the white pieces, opens with c4. He goes for the English opening. We have knight to f6 by Olga, knight to c3, e6, d4, and bishop to b4. We have the Nimzo-Indian defense, knight to f3, the three knights variation, castles, bishop to g5 and h6, bishop h4, pawn to c5. So this is all very standard stuff. Nothing new being played here. C captures, we have e captures, and pawn to d5. Rook to c1, knight to c6, and now finally challenging the bishop with pawn to a3. So bishop back to e7. We have pawn to c5, sort of an anti-positional move, but it has been played before by some very strong players. Knight to e4, and now we have a trade. Bishop captures, queen captures, and now bishop to e2. There is a very famous game where bishop to b5 was played. Magnus Carlsen played it against Hikaru Nakamura in 2016 in your next move. It was a blitz game. The game ended in a draw, but here we have bishop to e2. We have rook to d8, and now again, the position has been reached before. Wojtaszek had it against Vladimir Kramnik. Martinovic had it against Gelfand. In both of the games, castles was played. But here we have pawn to b4 by Max, and it is now, as of move 13, that we have a completely new game. So here you might consider pawn to a6 to stop b5, but if there's no need, then there's no need. Olga just plays pawn to e5. Sacrificing a pawn, knight captures, we have knight captures and d captures on e5. Now, pawn to a5, now challenging this queenside expansion. We have castles and a captures on b4. We have a captures, knight captures on c3, rook captures, and now reclaiming the pawn with queen captures on e5. We have rook to e3 now, attacking the queen, queen to f4, and now queen to d2. Preparing a nice rook lift, preparing to bring the rook into the game, but also threatening the tricky rook e8 check, which would blunder the queen. So, of course, bishop to e6, stopping this while developing the bishop. We have g3, queen to f6, and now rook to f3. Queen back to e5, and now rook to e1, threatening some nasty discoveries, but just rook to a1. Olga wants to trade a pair of rooks off the board. Rook e3. We have rook captures on e1 with check, queen captures, and now queen to b2. We have bishop to d3 now, and king to f8. King to f8 is a very important move because here Olga realized that the king belongs on the queen side. The problem with a move like rook to e8, if you want to play something like rook to a1, white would probably immediately win with rook captures on e6. Now, you can't do this. If you play rook to a1, then rook to e8 is checkmate, as the bishop covers the h7 square, and if you accept the rook, then queen captures with check, king to h8, and now queen f5, and you will not survive this. It's going to be incredibly difficult. Like g6, queen captures. You can bring the queen back. Now queen e6, you go after this pawn, you play b5, c6. So it would be a miracle if black survived this. So instead, king to f8. She wants to bring the king over to the queen side. We have rook to e2 now, attacking the queen. Now the same idea isn't as potent because now the black queen can just go back with a move like queen to f6. So instead we have rook to e2, and now queen to d4. We have queen to d2, and now rook to a8. And here you don't want to wait for a move like rook to a4, then you might lose the b4 pawn. So bishop to b5 offers a queen trade, rook to a1 with check, king to g2, and now queen to g4. We have rook to e1, offering a trade, and rook captures. We have queen captures on e1, king to e7, and now king to g1, getting off of this nasty diagonal before deciding what to do next. We have queen to d4, and now bishop back to f1. Now you want to position your queen somehow to defend the c pawn, so you can play b5 and then advance the pawn to c6. So queen to b1, king to d7, bringing the king over to the queen side. Now queen to b1, h5. Here Olga wants to play h4 and then maybe even h3. Queen to b3, and now we have pawn to h4. And now queen to a4 with check. Here how do you continue this? King to c7, queen to a5 check, king to c8, and now queen to b6. Here, maybe the simplest way is queen a3. This protects the c5 pawn, or rather, once you push b5, c5 will be protected, and maybe this is the way to go. Let's say h captures, black plays something, pawn to b5, and you are pushing. However, he played queen to b6, and now it's very tricky. How do you play this? You can get pretty much an instant draw here with queen to d1. The problem is the threat of bishop h3 is too great, and you have to settle for a draw. c6 captures, and now you're just gonna check the black king pretty much forever. King e7, queen to c5 check, king to d8, and so on. So instead, after this queen to b6, she didn't go for queen to d1. Olga played h3, which looks incredibly strong, but it also loses the game. Here she allowed pawn to b5. Now comes queen to e5 and pawn to c6. It seems like she's defending everything, queen to c7, but look at this, queen to c5, king to b8, and now almost the star move of the game, pawn to b6. A beautiful pawn sacrifice by Max, where you have to play queen captures on c6. So queen captures on c6, and now look at this, queen to f8 with check. Now you can't block with the queen. If you block with the queen, then it's the queen d6 check, and now you get checkmated. King e8, queen to a3 check, king goes here, and this will now be checkmate. The pawn covers the c7 square. So she blocks with bishop to c8, and she is up material. The problem is it's completely winning now. Bishop captures on h3. Now you can't move the queen, otherwise you blunder the bishop on f8, on c8, and now comes pawn to d4. And there is such a beautiful move here in this position. Like I said, Max spent 40 minutes pondering on the position, but he failed to see it. However, you guys noticed here, you guys can do it. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Max. While I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this elusive idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to all the way to d7. That's the move. Look at it. It's disgusting and yet beautiful. What a move. The problem now is that the queen is attacked, and you can't really move the queen anywhere from the defense of the bishop. But that's your only move. You have to play something like queen captures, and then this will be queen captures on c8, king a7, and you're gonna be down a full piece. The problem is, if you capture the bishop, you are no longer attacking the b6 pawn. What black really wants to do is that after white plays something, black wants to capture on b6, but now white can play queen to a3, and because the bishop is now stuck on c8, there's no defense against queen to a7 checkmate. Whatever you do, it's just queen to a7 checkmate, unless you're being weird with something like queen to a4. But okay, after d4, Max missed the idea. He played bishop to f5, and now we have queen to c1 with check, king to g2, and queen to c6 with check. Now Olga bounces back in the game. We have pawn to f3, and now pawn to d3. She wants to give up the d3 pawn for the b6 pawn, and it's definitely the way to go. The problem with a move like g6 is that now you can just trade everything, captures, and the problem is, let's say something like king f2, king to d7, you want to go after this pawn. The black king has no plan, because if you go for the b6 pawn, then h4, g4, h5, and then the h pawn is unstoppable. If you go to the king side, then white will just push pawns on the king side, then capture on d4, then capture on b7. So you can't go be everywhere at once, and the d4 pawn is simply too weak. So that's the problem with a move like g6. In the game, d3 was played, and here Max traded. Bishop captures, we have queen captures, and now queen captures on g7, and now Max is up a pawn. We have queen to e3, and now queen to c3. Now he's up a pawn. His king is a little bit safer, and he will, of course, try to push this for a win. Pawn to b5. You cannot capture because the queen would hang. So queen to c2, preparing queen to e2. We have pawn to b4, and now pawn to h4. Max starts pushing the pawn as well. Bishop e6, we have queen to e2, and now queen to d4. We have pawn to h5. Pawn to b3, now it's a race, h6, b2, pawn to h7, and now king to c7. So okay, the queen is covering the h8 square, but now bishop to b1, we have queen to g7, and now queen to e3. We have king to d7, and now queen to a7 with check, king to d8, and now queen to b8 with check. And now the problem is if the king moves, then you just bring a queen into the game. So bishop to c8 was played, and now bishop to f5, and it was in this position on move 63 that Olga Badelka resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So truly a remarkable game, and especially that that bishop to d7 move that didn't happen, but luckily you guys have found it, as you are incredible chess players. So here he resigned because there's no defense against queen captures on c8. Whatever you play, it's still queen captures on c8. The black queen cannot defend. And even if you try something tricky like bringing a queen into the game, hoping to deflect white somehow, still just queen captures on c8 with check, king moves anywhere, and now bishop captures on b1. You're going to be up a full piece. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely played by both of them, but it is Max who emerges victorious. Too bad for that bishop to d7 idea. It would have been Max has so many epic games. I wouldn't say it would be his immortal, but it would be a very nice move. Really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Bernard Domrani, Funky Monk, Ravishing Reptiles YouTube, Sakanka Travel and Tour Safaris, and Jordan Smith for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful event until it finishes. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And I really enjoyed the fight yesterday between Cyril and John Jones. It was quite quite an event. So if any of you have seen it, do share your comments on that as well. See you soon.